Breaking news, a historic electoral ass-kicking just happened in Indiana against RINO Republicans and cucks who betray their party and their president and their voters. And this is a major learning moment for the Republican Party. Take note, ladies and gentlemen. This is how Indiana voted in the 2024 election. You can see that Kamala Harris won only 3 counties in the entire damn state. Donald Trump won 60% of the vote. Kamala Harris couldn't even get 40% in the Midwest state. It is a hard right state, and it loves President Trump. Look at the breakdown for the House and the Senate. This is the House. This is the state House. 70% of the state House, an absolute and total dominant Republican supermajority. In the Senate, of 50 senators, 40% of them are Republican. So this is something that is a rout when it comes to the party line and who controls the state. Yet, in spite of this, Indiana gives 2 districts, congressional districts, to Democrats. Well, that don't make no sense. How's that possible? This certainly wouldn't happen in a left-wing state. The Democrats certainly wouldn't do that. And President Trump said, why is Indiana giving 2 seats to Democrats in the House? They don't represent you or the people there. Why are we carving up districts? Because of our white guilt? Like, what is this exactly? And Trump said, you better redistrict and redistrict now. But Indiana senators rejected President Trump. The House passed it overwhelmingly. But the senators were completely cucked, and they probably got calls from Barack Obama, and they got calls from George Clooney, and they got calls from Nancy Pelosi, and they felt special, and they got patted on the head by the media. And so Republicans joined with Democrats and voted against redistricting 31-19. Well, that's pretty devastating. It wasn't even particularly close. So let's see here. 21 Republicans broke with the National Party line and voted against the House bill that would have redistricted and given Republicans +2 in the House. Ladies and gentlemen, amazing thing just happened tonight. Vengeance against those senators in an absolute and total electoral bloodbath in Indiana. As far as we are tracking right now, virtually every single one of the senators who voted against redistricting has lost their seat. Every Trump candidate has won tonight. Lesson learned. Play for keeps if you are a Republican. No more weaklings. Play to win or get out. Turning Point USA deserves an enormous amount of credit for this. As you can see here, not every senator is up this cycle, but nonetheless, you can see the districts are in the massive wins here for the Trump endorsed candidate, 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 Trump endorsed candidate. It is a total and complete bloodbath. The RINOs are extinct. Good luck to those in the Indiana Senate candidates who are running against people who couldn't care less about our country or about keeping the majority in Congress. There are 8 great patriots running against long-seated RINOs. Let's see how those RINOs do tonight, says Donald Trump on Truth Social. They got wiped out. Indiana voters wiping out the GOP reps who refuse to redistrict is what needs to be done going forward. We will replace the losers until we find someone willing to do the job. We need to nationalize this. This is a great night for real conservatives in Indiana, bad night for RINOs in Indiana, absolutely horrible night for mainstream media in Indiana, who predicted all of the Trump-supported candidates would lose. No. In fact, it's very interesting. All of the reporters have been out here licking their chops, priming the pumps all day for Donald Trump-endorsed candidates to lose because these are state Senate races and there not a lot of people vote and power of incumbency is very strong in these in these states. But it didn't happen. In fact, it's going to be, maybe one of the RINOs will be able to eke out a win. And this is, I think, kind of interesting because this was decided by 10 votes here, right? So it was decided by 10, so it was 19. So what you needed was 10 and you have 8 right now. So you've practically flipped your margin here to even, right? So now you could pass the House bill. They should get about doing that, quite frankly. You should just go ahead and pass the House bill. There you go. There's no RINO base. There's pro-Trump MAGA and reactionary populist. These incumbents in Indiana are only registered any result at all as a function of incumbency. Thune should observe tonight's results and wonder what the future will hold for his weakening caucus. 6 of 7 RINO state Indiana senators who voted against redistricting have lost their primaries and their candidacies. Trump-backed candidates won. Enjoy the unemployment line. Massive wins here, ladies and gentlemen. Turning Point USA clocking them in. Indiana state Senate candidates are out. The fact that the Republicans in Indiana who voted against redistricting losing their seats just shows how important voting in primaries is. Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen. Wipeout so far in Indiana. Trump-backed candidates are steamrolling the anti-redistricting faction inside of the GOP caucus tonight, sending a clear warning to Republican legislators in red states across the country. Keep blue seats at your own risk. Right now, there is a faction of rhinos, cucks, and weaklings in states like Alabama and in states like Louisiana who are arguing that they should keep blue seats. They are going to be redistricting. They've already decided to redistrict. Should we be keeping these blue seats that were drawn on racial lines, that were drawn in order to benefit Democrats? And the answer to that is, of course, no. This is smash mouth politics. You shouldn't keep these seats because your state votes 40 points for Donald Trump in an election because Democrats wouldn't give you this curry, this favor. Look at New England. Look at California or Illinois. When Democrats get control, they wield power. No, Republicans are done. We want Republican leaders who will act on behalf of the Republican base, and it's an existential crisis. You are now fighting the communists. So we must encourage strongly, in the strongest possible terms, Republican leaders to start acting like it. Next is South Carolina. South Carolina could redistrict. Georgia could redistrict, but Brian Kemp probably won't. You've got to redistrict in Mississippi. You've got to keep fighting, ladies and gentlemen. I hope Leader John Thune is paying attention to Indiana's election results tonight. Conservatives are tired of rhinos. Rhinos are being taken out one by one. Big night for MAGA in Indiana, proud to have helped more conservative Republicans in the state Senate. Electoral day is very, very pro-Trump. Race called, FAFO, Trump-backed candidates just winning in landslides. Bloodbath in Indiana. Hey, South Carolina, if you refuse to redistrict, I hope Trump gives you the full Indiana treatment. This couldn't come at a better time. Republican Indiana senators rejected Trump's calls, are now losing in absolute landslide. They're dropping like flies. This would have been a 100% Republican map if the Senate had just passed it. And again, the breakdown in the Senate is egregious. There are, out of 50 state senators, 40 of them are Republicans. It wouldn't have even been hard. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, massive, massive wins. Indiana, these Trump-backed candidates are rolling. Well done. Wipeout. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. A beautiful thing to see. A reminder that this is what happens when you betray your base. Never betray your fans. Never betray your base. Never forget who brought you. Ladies and gentlemen, a nightmare for rhinos, cucks, and weakling Republicans tonight. Anti-incumbent sentiment is strong. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not a dead movement. In fact, I think we're just getting started.